This is a bit of a long story, but if you have some time, please read it. When I was in elementary school, we built a secret base in the depths of the forest behind our school. The secret base was quite sophisticated, made by nailing multiple planks together to create a hut about the size of 3 tatami mats, capable of shielding us from the rain and wind. After school, we would eat snacks there, read erotic magazines, and use it like it was our own house. It was used by me, Shin, Jun, and 2 dogs. During the summer vacation of 5th grade, we decided to stay overnight at our secret base. Each of us lied to our parents, saying we were staying at so-and-so's house, and gathered our allowances to buy snacks, fireworks, and juice. I was more excited than I had been for any school trip. We met up at the school around 5 p.m. and headed to the forest. It took about an hour of climbing to reach our secret base. The area around the base was also the territory of the 2 stray dogs, Happy and Tachi. So as we neared the base, they would come to greet us, wagging their tails from somewhere. We thanked them for their welcome by patting their heads and gave each of them a stick of umaibo. Upon reaching the base, we stored our stuff inside the hut, and since it was still light out, went fishing in the large pond nearby. Though we only caught bullfrogs, incidentally, the frogs we caught were fed to the dogs. As we fished, it gradually began to darken, so we started setting off fireworks. The dogs seemed even more excited than we were. We thought we had bought plenty of fireworks, but they were all gone within 30 minutes, so we went inside the hut. It was everyone's first time spending the night at the secret base, and without any streetlights, only the moonlight illuminated our surroundings. All we could hear were the sounds of insects. The 3 of us, in the dimly lit hut with a simple light, initially chatted about our crushes and badmouthed our teachers while eating snacks. However, we gradually became scared due to the occasional plop, the sound of something falling into the pond, and rustle, the sound of an animal moving, coming from the silent surroundings around the hut. Gradually, did you hear that sound just now? What if there's a bear? We started to genuinely become scared, no longer joking around. It was 9 o'clock, and the inside of the hut was stifling hot and full of mosquitoes, making it impossible to sleep. More than that, we were overwhelmed by the unique atmosphere of the mountain and all regretted coming. We discussed how to get through until morning. As a result, due to the heat inside the hut and the inability to see our surroundings, like a bear approaching, we decided to descend the mountain. Deep down, I just wanted to get home as soon as possible. We started to descend the mountain at a brisk pace, using our flashlights to light our way. Happy and Tachi ran around us for the first 5 minutes, which was reassuring, but they soon returned to the hut. Even though we had traveled this path many times, it felt like a completely different space at night. We walked silently and diligently on the narrow animal trail, making sure not to slip. Then Shin grabbed my shoulder from behind and whispered, "There's someone there." We instantly dropped to the ground and turned off the flashlight. Straining our ears, we could indeed hear footsteps. Rustle, rustle, the sound of someone moving through the bushes on 2 legs. We strained our eyes in the direction of the sound, searching for whoever it was. About 20 to 30 meters away from us, in the bushes, there was someone. Holding a flashlight in one hand and a long stick in the other, they were parting the bushes with the stick and seemed to be climbing up the mountain. At first, we were terrified, but realizing that it was a human and that the person was alone, our fear dissipated and our hearts were filled with a childish curiosity. I muttered, "Who is that guy? Should we tail him?" And the others showed eager smiles as if to say, "Of course." Relying on the faint light from the stranger's flashlight and the sound of them parting the grass, we carefully started to follow them. After about 20 minutes of climbing, the stranger stopped. We were about 30 meters behind them, so we couldn't make out their gender or what they were doing. We could only catch a faint silhouette. The person then put down the backpack they were carrying and started rummaging through it. "I wonder what he's doing alone? Maybe he came to catch beetles," I said. "Let's get closer," Shin suggested. We approached slowly, taking care not to step on dry leaves or branches, crouching and moving quietly. We grinned as we approached, thinking of what prank to play on the stranger. Then, clonk, a high-pitched sound echoed. My heart almost stopped. Clonk, it sounded again. For a moment, we didn't understand what happened, and I turned to look at Jun and Shin. Then Jun pointed and said, "It's him. He's doing something." I saw what the stranger was doing. Clunk, clunk, clunk. He was hammering something into a tree. No, I couldn't see his hands, but I immediately knew it was a cursing ritual. That's because there were stories about straw dolls associated with this mountain. Until then, I had thought they were just urban legends. I became scared and said, "Let's run." But Shin whispered, "That's a woman. Look closely." And Jun, getting carried away, said, "Don't you want to see her face? Don't you want to get closer?" Shin and Jun started moving forward more boldly. I didn't want to, but not wanting to be labeled a coward, I reluctantly followed them. As we got closer to the woman, we heard another sound besides the clonk, clonk. She seemed to be muttering something like a sutra. Taking a detour, we hid behind a tree about 8 meters diagonally behind the woman. She had hair that reached slightly past her shoulders, was thin, and had placed her backpack and flashlight on the ground. She was hammering nails into a photo or something similar, having already driven in 6 or 7 nails. At that moment, whine! We were startled and turned around to see Happy and Tachi wagging their tails and panting as if asking, "What are you doing?" The next instant, Shin screamed, "Wah!" and ran off making a strange loud noise. Turning around, I saw a woman with a demonic expression, holding a hammer, screaming something like, "Ah!" and running towards us. Jun and I immediately stood up and ran after Shin. However, someone grabbed my left shoulder from behind with incredible strength, pulling me back, and I fell. I rolled onto my back, and a sudden impact on my chest nearly made me vomit. It took me a moment to realize what had happened. The woman had stepped on my chest, and I was looking up at her from below. She gritted her teeth, grinding them as if to show off, and made an indescribable noise while shifting her foot on my chest from side to side. I didn't feel pain. I was too scared to feel anything. The woman was trembling slightly, probably at the height of excitement. I couldn't take my eyes off her, fearing she would hit me with the hammer the moment I did. Despite the situation, or perhaps because of it, I clearly remember her face. She looked to be about 40, with a slightly thin face, bulging eyes, a slight underbite, and trembling slightly as she looked down at me. I can't remember how long the situation lasted, whether it was 10 minutes or 20. As the woman bent over and slowly brought her face closer to me, Tachi jumped on her back. The woman momentarily panicked, stepping off me and stumbling. Then Happy ran up and started frolicking with her. Probably because we usually played with them, the dogs didn't have a sense of caution towards humans. I took the chance to quickly get up and run. Quickly, quickly! Shin and Jun were shining their flashlights from a distance. I ran towards the light. Thud! I heard a dull sound behind me, but didn't have the luxury to look back as I continued running. By the time Shin, Jun, and I had made it out of the mountain, it was past midnight. We didn't hear any footsteps, but fearing the woman might follow, we ran all the way to Shin's house. Arriving at Shin's house, I suddenly felt a surge of laughter. Perhaps it was relief from the extreme tension. However, Jun started crying. I said, "We can never go back to that secret base again. That woman might be looking for us." To which Jun replied through tears, "Idiot! We have to go back when it gets bright in the morning." Confused, Shin told me, "It was thanks to Happy and Tachi that you escaped from that woman. When she was about to hit you from behind, Happy jumped on her and got hit instead." Then Jun, still crying, said, "That woman, she hit Tachi too, Tachi as well, ugh." I later learned from Shin that when the woman tried to hit me from behind, Happy had leaped at her and got hit on the head with the hammer. The woman tried to pursue us, but was distracted by Tachi frolicking around her feet, and she ended up hitting Tachi on the head with the hammer. Then, without following us, she continued to beat the 2 dogs. We just kept running. Shin also said we should head into the mountain at dawn. Of course I agreed. However, further terror awaited us there. Due to the excitement, we couldn't sleep until dawn, took a nap from morning to before noon, and then headed for the mountain. All of us, prepared for that middle-aged woman, brought bats and air guns. We reached the entrance to the mountain, but Shin said she might still be around, so we entered the mountain via a different route than usual. The mountain was bright during the day, filled with the cries of cicadas, making the previous night's events seem like a lie. However, as we approached the spot where we encountered the middle-aged woman, Tension gripped us. We fell silent, and our steps grew heavier. We reached the area where yesterday's events became vividly clear in our memories. Our hands gripping the bats were sweaty with tension. We saw the tree where the woman had been hammering something. We approached a bit closer and were at a loss for words. Nailed to the tree was a photo of a small child, a girl around 4 or 5 years old, with countless nails driven into it. However, what shocked us wasn't just that. At the base of the tree lay the transformed corpse of Happy. His tongue was hanging out, his body covered in blood, with a nail driven into his forehead. We were speechless and couldn't bring ourselves to look closely. Flies and insects we had never seen before swarmed the body, and we truly understood the meaning of a living being's death for the first time. Seeing Happy's transformed corpse, I thought that if I met the middle-aged woman again, I might end up like Happy. And I wanted to go home immediately. At that moment, Jin said, "Touch! Touch's body isn't here. Maybe Touch is still alive." Then Shin said, "Touch must have escaped. He must be at the base." I too hoped that at least Touch was still alive. The three of us ran towards the secret base. As we approached the secret base, Shin suddenly stopped. Jun and I thought, "Middle-aged woman?" and hurriedly crouched down. Looking up at Shin in silence, he pointed towards the base and said, "What's that?" Slowly standing up, we looked at the base. Something felt off about it. There was something attached to the roof of the base. As we got closer, we realized that Jun's drawstring bag, he always carried snacks in it, from last night, was nailed to the roof of the base with countless nails. We were shocked. The secret base had been discovered by that middle-aged woman. Shin approached the base cautiously, gripping his bat tightly. Jun and I aimed our air guns from a slightly further distance, thinking the middle-aged woman might be inside. Shin slowly reached for the door and then swiftly pulled it open. Wow! Shin was startled by something, fell on his butt, and scrambled back towards us. Jun and I, not knowing what had frightened Shin, cautiously aimed our guns and slowly peered inside the base. There lay the transformed corpse of Touch. Wow! Jun and I reacted similarly to Shin. Indeed, a large nail was driven into Touch's forehead. At that moment I thought, that middle-aged woman is a pervert. No, she's insane. Normally, nobody would do such a thing. I deeply regretted coming to this mountain last night, having gotten involved with such a monstrous person. For a while, all three of us were stunned, looking at Touch's body. Then Shin pointed inside the hut and said, "Hey, that—" Silently, Jun and I leaned in to see where Shin was pointing. Inside the base, something felt off about the walls and floorboards. There were words carved. Getting closer, we looked carefully. Jun curse kill, 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 Jun curse kill. The words Jun, curse, kill were carved countless times into the walls and floor with nails. Jun was like, "Eh?" His eyes widened, or rather he was frozen. We were also shocked. How did she know his name? That's when Shin said, "Jun's drawstring, it has his name on it, doesn't it?" I shifted my gaze to the drawstring bag nailed to the roof. Indeed, it was clearly written with nails. Class 5. Jun started crying. Shin and I felt like crying too. Our grade, class, and name had been discovered by the middle-aged woman. There was no escaping now. She would soon find out about me and Shin as well. My mind went blank. We all feared being killed like Happy and Touch, with nails driven into our foreheads. Shin said, "Let's go to the police. It's over. We can't escape." In a panic, I said, "If we go to the police, they'll find out about the secret base and that we lied about coming here last night. Our parents will scold us." I lacked calmness in my statement. At the time, being scolded by my parents seemed the scariest thing. However, Jun just kept crying. Hickik. I couldn't find any words to comfort him. Jun silently tore off the nailed drawstring bag and stuffed it into his pocket. We fell silent and just descended the mountain. Jun kept crying. I felt as if the middle-aged woman was watching us from somewhere, trembling with fear. Once we got down, Shin said, "Let's stop coming to this mountain. If we stay away for a while, that middle-aged woman will probably forget about us." I agreed, "Yeah, let's keep this a secret among us. If she finds out we've told someone, she might kill us." Shin nodded, but Jun kept wiping his tears with his sleeve, crying. That day, we all went home, and for the rest of the summer vacation, the three of us didn't meet. 2 weeks later, at the start of the new term, June was absent from school. Shin was there, so the two of us, thinking maybe June, that woman, went to June's house after school. When we pressed the doorbell, June's mother answered cheerfully, "Hi!" I asked, "Is June here?" And she said, "Thanks for coming to visit. He's in his room? Go on up." Shin and I headed to June's room. "June, we're coming in." As we entered, June was lying on his bed, reading manga. Seeing June seemingly okay, Shin and I felt a bit relieved. "Why did you miss school today?" "We were worried. Do you have a cold?" Jun remained silent, closed his manga, and looked down. Then his mother came in with snacks and juice, saying, "This child has had a rash that won't go away for about 10 days. Continuing with a laugh, "Maybe it's from too many snacks?" She left the room with a smile. Shin and I joked, "What, you scared us? Just a rash, huh? You must have eaten something off the ground, right?" But Jun didn't laugh and kept looking down. Shin asked, "Hey, June, what's wrong?" June silently took off his t-shirt. His body was covered in red spots. It was indeed a rash. I said, "Rashes like that go away with some ointment." Jun then showed us his back, saying, "This is that woman's curse." Indeed, his back was also covered in countless rashes. Shin said, "Why would it be a curse? Forget about it." But Jun raised his voice a bit. "Look at my right side." On the right side, indeed, the rash was worse there, but it wasn't clear why he connected it to a curse. Then Jun said, "Look closely. Doesn't this look like a face?" Shin and I were shocked upon closer inspection. Indeed, about 5 centimeters in diameter, the skin was inflamed and swollen, resembling a woman's face. Shin and I said, "You're overthinking it? It kind of looks like a face, but..." Jun insisted, "It's definitely a face. I'm the only one cursed." Shin and I didn't know what to say to Jun. Or rather, we were overwhelmed by Jun's aura. The usually gentle and kind Jun seemed a bit disturbed. His pale face and lifeless eyes, he must be mentally cornered. Feeling uncomfortable at Jun's house all of a sudden, Shin and I decided to leave. On the way back, I asked Shin, "What do you think? Is it a curse?" Shin said, "There's no such thing as a curse in this world." Somehow, his words gave me courage. 3 days passed, and Jun still hadn't returned to school. It was difficult for Shin and me to call him, so we didn't know how he was. However, the teacher said, "Jun is off due to rubella," so we were a bit relieved. But around this time, a strange rumor started circulating in the school. There's a woman in a trench coat and sandals staring intently at each student on the school route. Hearing this rumor after school, I was severely shaken, because I was the only one who had seen her face up close. I consulted with Shin. Shin said, "It's okay, it was night, she couldn't see. Even if she saw us that day, she's forgotten by now." Trying to calm me down, or perhaps being surprisingly calm himself. What I dreaded the most was that Shin and I took completely opposite routes to school. Jun and I lived close by, but with Jun absent, I had to go home alone. I begged Shin, "Let's go home together for a while, I'm scared." Shin looked a bit exasperated, but agreed, only until Jun comes back. From that day, Shin accompanied me home. We started going home together from that day.